Okay, thanks, Mikey.
Hello, folks.
Hello. Are we live? Sorry, I can't see anything on my end. Good evening, everyone. Return to Ponder's End Walking and Cycling Route Statutory Consultation webinar. So just do a quick round of introductions. So my name is Tom Anderson. I'm the project manager for this scheme at Enfield Council. So I'll pass over to Stavros.
Thank you, Tom. Hi, everyone. My name is Stavros Kokourikos. I am the Walking and Cycling Workstream Lead. Enfield Town to Ponder's End Walking and Cycling Route is falls under my portfolio, and I'm supporting Tom to deliver the scheme. I will pass on to Jack.
Thank you, Stavros. Hi, folks. My name is Jack Allen. I am the Journeys Delivery Lead within Journeys and Places. So I'm responsible for the walking and cycling portfolio that Stavros just mentioned, as well as the neighbourhoods portfolio that includes things like school streets and quieter neighbourhoods. So once as a borough in Journeys and Places, we've scoped schemes. And the Journeys portfolio, they pass to me for delivery. And I'll hand over to Daniel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Valero. I'm an associate engineer at NRP. So this is a company that is a consultancy for Enfield. We've been developing the designs, basically the drawings. And I'll pass on to Alex.
Evening, everyone. Yeah, my name is Alex Stebbings. I also work for NRP. I'm a director in the Transport and Engineering department, and I've been supporting Daniel and the team working on the highway engineering designs, but also in the earlier stages of the project. And I will hand on to Mikey.
Hi everyone, apologies in advance for my camera not working this evening. I'm Mikey Christoforou. I am the Communications Officer for the Journeys and Places team here at Enfield Council, and I will pass you back over to Tom. Thank you.
All right, thanks guys. So just run you through the agenda for this evening. So we've got a bit of a welcome there. We'll go through some housekeeping in the next slide. We'll do a quick introduction to Journeys and Places, or what we're about, what we're hoping to achieve, and then I will go through some like the previous engagement that we've done and give a bit of a scheme update on the wider scheme, as well as the two sections that are at statutory consultation. Then we'll do a bit of a deeper dive into the revised proposals. I'll go into the key next steps, both for the statutory consultation and for the rest of the scheme, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So yeah, just a bit of housekeeping. So before we start, got a Q&A function, so please use that to ask your questions. We will be answering the questions following the presentation. We'll also review all these in line with the FAQs that we've got on the Let's Talk page and update them accordingly if we see sort of trends emerging. We won't publish the comments that we receive as part of the Q&A function, but we will be reviewing all of them. So if you do have those, please post them separately to your questions. Webinar is being recorded and it will be available on the project page in the coming days for those that couldn't make it tonight. And then just to let you know, yeah, the statutory consultation, it's live now. It went live last Wednesday, and it's going to be live until the 8th of December. So please make any representations by 11:59 on the 8th of December. So I'll just pass you over to Jack briefly.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. So I'm not going to take up much time in this, folks. I just wanted to give a bit of context to this project, where it sits within the sort of the wider Journeys and Places portfolio within the council, because this is not just something we're doing in isolation. It's very much part of a much bigger picture in how we're looking to improve journey options and transport options within the borough. So I'll just go through that in terms of what that looks like so within Journeys and Places and how it fits in. So I think the first thing to mention is that we're in a climate emergency. That's been both declared at a central government level and indeed a local level as well. So we need to act essentially now to affect that generational change. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something that has essentially got one solution. There are solutions that then have knock-on effects that are then required in the solutions themselves. So it's a lot bigger picture in terms of how we affect that generational change and give people better transport options in the future. A number of those factors within that climate emergency are obviously poor air quality. So that's impacting people right now. Across London, there's something like 5,000 deaths a year attributed to air pollution. So we need to think about ways to give people better transport options that don't require them to be in a private vehicle that has a contribution to the air pollution. Physical activity is another attribute of that. So in terms of not least the air pollution side of things, but physical activity is a very sort of adjacent benefit to encouraging active travel within the journeys projects that we do. So it's not only a good thing in terms of being generally more physical and mentally healthy from that point of view, but also we're in an era where we need to take pressure away from health services. So the best way to do that is to stop people needing those health services in the first place, and one of the best ways to do that is encouraging and enabling physical activity. So a number of the journeys and places projects really focus on that in terms of how we give people better transport options, which leads me on to the sort of the transport choices point of view, really. So it's essentially it does impact that social equity and inclusion. So people in the borough, from an equalities point of view, just shouldn't have a private motor vehicle as their only means to travel around, sort of certainly for shorter journeys and journeys that take less than 15 minutes. We should be thinking about how we better enable people to travel actively and travel in a sustainable manner, because ultimately all that does is produce unnecessary journeys via private vehicle. That produces congestion, and then in turn that contributes to that climate emergency that we've just talked about. So ultimately, we want our streets, roads, neighbourhoods to be a safe place for everyone, and that's regardless of how they travel. So we need to consider those most vulnerable road users, as well as those people that are in sort of essentially more protected and less vulnerable. Next slide, please, Tom. So just a bit more about us. So who are Journeys and Places? I think I've alluded to that already, but these are sort of some of our key tenets in terms of what we try and do as part of this department of the council. We want to deliver a walking and cycling network that's accessible to all, and for people that want to use it as well. So that's not just an A to B route in isolation. That is how we connect to the whole borough, how we deliver a series of routes that enable people to use a full end-to-end facility for their journey. So it's essentially unlocking that local network as well as that wider network across London, should people wish to use it for longer journeys as well. We want to enhance Enfield Town centres and public realms. So this is the sort of the places side of Journeys and Places. We're obviously focused today on some of the journeys projects, but places is the other part where we're sort of looking at town centres, looking at public realms, and then effectively and crucially how we connect those as part of the journeys that we make as well. We want to make neighbourhoods safer for people to travel actively. So that could be via many modes. It's not just cycling; it's how we incorporate walking and wheeling as part of those proposals as well. I think a good example here is sort of my son's just about to turn 3, and he's got his first bike now. So in the near future, I'd love him to be able to store his bike locally, access his bike locally, jump on a cycle route that is close to him, and then in due course use a route that's adjacent to him to travel to school, where he's also got parking for his bike. So it's that sort of whole journey perspective that I always focus on, in terms of not just what is happening on that local street, but how it fits into that wider picture. And I think everyone's got very sort of examples close to their heart in terms of how that is unlocked via what we do as part of Journeys and Places. So it's not just the Enfield Town to Ponders End route we're talking about. It's in the bigger picture of how that fits into a safe, sustainable and active network. And then finally, just before I hand back to Tom, I think it's as much as about the physical infrastructure, it's about this inspirational and inspiring elements as well. So I really love the picture here, because it's 2 people that probably otherwise wouldn't have been opting for active travel, and it becomes a social thing, not just a commute thing, not just a business thing. It's a way to actually enjoy a healthy lifestyle as well. So we want to assist people to take that mode shift, whether it be via parking facilities, whether it be via transport facilities, or indeed sort of the hub at the end of their destination to do that. So it's that inspiration part that I think once we've got that established network over the years to come, people will be considering these transport choices that they might have not otherwise done so. So thank you for listening. I will hand back to Tom now to go through the meat of the presentation. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Jack. So on to the next part. So just going to give a brief update about what we've done earlier in this project in terms of engagement. So I'm sure a lot of you will remember that we carried out some engagement with the community between November 2023 and January 2024. So this was our second phase of engagement. I won't go too much into the first phase because we updated you on that last year. But if you would like to find out more about that, there is more information available on the Let's Talk page in the document library. But as part of the phase 2 engagement, so we held an online webinar similar to what we're doing tonight. We did a couple of community drop-in sessions, which we'll also be doing as part of this statutory consultation. And additionally, we did 2 residents forums. One was online and one was in person. So that was off the back of some your local ward councillors' involvement. They encouraged us to open up the engagement a bit further because it did fall quite close to Christmas, and it gave us more of an opportunity to gather more comments. And then on top of that, we also encourage you guys, the community, to take the survey that was on the project page. And as part of that that engagement, we delivered over 6,000 letters. It was all along the route. It is a bit of a smaller area this time around because of the 2 sections that we're doing, but I'll go into more detail on that later on. And then as part of that engagement, we received a total of 219 separate bits of feedback from the community. So moving on from that, I'll do a quick scheme update. So this is the scheme up as it stands. So you can see we start over in the west in Enfield Town. It will connect into the future Enfield Town scheme, and it goes through Eaton Road, Seaford Road, through Bush Hill Park, across the A10 and on towards Ponders End Station. But obviously our focus tonight is more these 2 sections that we have here. So we've split the scheme up into multiple sections. Due to sort of funding constraints and program constraints, there's only so much we can get done in a given financial year. So we do have to make a decision as to what sections we want to progress. And obviously everything's going to be delivered incrementally as a result of that. So we decided to progress these 2 sections, the Eaton Road to Bush Hill Park section and the Percival Road, Bertram Road, Clive Road section this financial year. So I'll just give a bit of background as to how we decide on which sections to progress. So obviously we're allocated funding by TfL, it's ring fence funding, we have to spend it on the active travel routes. So we get allocated a budget each year and we have to see what we can realistically achieve with that budget. So we felt that these 2 were good sections to progress given the budget that we had this year. Further to that, the whole scheme it ties into the A10 junction, and the A10 junction is being designed by TfL as it is on their road network, but they are still to make a decision on the alignment that is going to take across the A10, which will have a direct impact on the sections of our route that are on either side of the A10. So we decided that we would put these sections on hold as a result of that, so as to avoid like abortive work and that sort of thing. So another reason, obviously, we constructed Bush Hill Park earlier this year between January and June. So that's new infrastructure that's in place. So we thought it was a good opportunity to build on the infrastructure that was already in place rather than just sort of doing pockets here and there along the route, kind of doing something a bit more coherent and that flows naturally. And then sort of finally, another reason we picked these 2 sections is because we received quite a significant amount of feedback on these 2 sections in the engagement that we did last year. So we thought it was prudent to push ahead with these and see what we can do regards to that. So then in terms of the rest of the route, so we've split this here up that leads up to the A10, so we could potentially move on and do this section that goes from the park alongside the school on Ermine side. So we will look to progress that, and we are reviewing our budgets towards the end of this financial year and see if we can commission the detailed design for that. And obviously the statutory consultation will follow for that as and when sort of necessary. And then we've got this last section here that goes from Derby Road to Ponders End Station. So that's currently at feasibility stage, and we're undertaking a feasibility study that should be available sort of in December or January time. So that's the scheme as it stands at the moment. going to go more into detail on the two sections that are currently at statutory consultation. So these two sections, obviously, like I say, it's the Eaton Road to Bushell Park section, and the Percival Road, Bertram Road, Clive Road, which is what you're all here for, really. And then we'll sort of drill down into those two sections over these next slides. So Eaton Road will become one-way northbound between Queens Road and Southbury Road. However, the section between Queens Road and Seaford Road will remain two-way, and we decided to do that as a result of the feedback that we received. However, the turn out of Queens Road, the left turn, it will be a right turn only, so there'll be no left turn out of there. And then part of the proposals is to have a segregated cycle route along this section from Southbury Road to Queens Road to protect the cyclists moving against the flow of traffic going up Eaton Road to Southbury Road. So that will consist of wands and road markings along the eastern side of that road. So from that point, it will all be on carriageway facilities. So it will just be road markings along the southern part of Eaton Road, along Seaford Road, down Fotheringham, and then into Cross Road to connect with the existing facilities in the park. We also have the bus gates proposed as part of these measures to help reduce the vehicle volumes on these roads. So this bus gate at the top of Fotheringham Road is a southbound bus gate, meaning vehicles on Southbury Road or Kimberley Gardens won't be able to pass through that going south on Fotheringham Road. However, should vehicles need to exit the area, they will be able to pass through that bus gate and out onto Southbury Road or across to Kimberley Gardens. We also have the bus gate on Cross Road. So this is a westbound bus gate, meaning vehicles travelling in a westward direction will not be able to pass through it. So that's anyone coming along from Cecil Avenue along Cross Road or turning right out of Fotheringham Road will not be able to do that. However, vehicles travelling eastwards towards Fotheringham Road and Cecil Avenue will be able to pass through that bus gate, and both of these bus gates will be operational 24/7. Then we also have a continuous footway that we are going to be installing at the end of Fotheringham Road to improve the safety for pedestrians in the area, and we're also proposing a build out to protect that new entrance to Bushell Park that we installed as part of the cycleway that was installed there earlier this year. So that's the section Eaton Road to Bushell Park. So we'll move on to the Percival, Bertram Road and Clive Road section. So this has seen a significant change. Obviously, before it was a one-way system on all three of these roads, but we've reduced that now after looking at the traffic data and receiving the feedback from the local community last year. So we do still have a one-way northbound on Percival Road between Lincoln Road and Birtway, and similarly we have a one-way southbound on Bertram Road between Clive Way and Lincoln Road. Now the reason that we've retained those two one-ways is because the future cycle route will pass across these two roads before it goes down Ermineside, and these one-ways are to protect that cycle route going across those junctions. Everywhere else, so that the northern section of Percival Road and Bertram Road remains two-way, as does Clive Road for its entirety. The reason we didn't put a one-way on Clive Road is because we didn't have that route going past that junction, so we felt it was there to sort of keep the area open. Now speeding was an issue that we found from the engagement last year. There are some sort of higher speeds on these roads, so as part of our proposals we're putting in a 20-mile-an-hour zone, and to back that up we're putting in some speed humps, 6 in total. So there'll be one at the top end of Percival Road, one at the bottom, the same for Bertram Road and the same for Clive Road. Now, moving on from the statutory consultation items, we wanted to ask you about a controlled parking zone in the area, because we also heard from the engagement last year that parking and congestion was an issue in the area. So we feel that a controlled parking zone could help alleviate those issues, make sure people have places to park. It gives us an opportunity to put in passing places to prevent, traffic getting stuck on these roads. But this is not part of statutory consultation. We would just like to stress that. So if you do have any comments about this section, there is a survey on the Let's Talk page where you'll be able to make some comments on this separately to the statutory consultation. The statutory consultation, obviously, you need to make your representations and objections by the end of the day on the 8th. It's the same for the survey, but it makes it easier for us to separate out what comments have been received for each section of this. So yeah, just to reinforce that, we don't have any designs for this section yet. We are just putting it out there to the public to get some comments and some feedback on this. So I'll hand you over to Mikey briefly here. We'll cover
Hi.
these sections. Yep.
Hi everyone. Apologies again for my camera not working this evening. But we've had a few phases of engagement so far. So phase 1 was in February of 2023, where we asked for residents in the community to provide their ideas or issues along the proposed route. We also held stakeholder meetings with various groups such as the Friends of Bushell Park groups and the emergency services. And these meetings have been ongoing throughout the design process. We then had a phase 2 of engagement. So this was engagement on the concept designs, and that was running from November 23 to January 24, where we presented the proposed plan for the whole route, and we invited feedback from the community via a survey and a series of drop-in sessions. And then we are now currently in statutory consultation for the Eaton Road to Bishop Park section, and also the Percival Road, Bertram Road and Clive Road sections of the route. And as Tom mentioned, please do share with us your representations or objections by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, the 8th of December. And next slide, please, Tom. Thank you. So please do visit the project page. There is a link there. But you can just Google Enfield Town to Ponders End Station walking and cycling route, and that will take you through to the Let's Talk project page. This is where all of the information about the project is held, including the proposed plans, frequently asked questions that we've been updating since the beginning of the early engagement on the project. There's also key dates for the project as well. Information on up and coming events. So as Tom mentioned, we've got some drop-in sessions coming up during the statutory consultation period, and then any other engagement, consultation, surveys and activities for the project are also hosted on the project page. Notices of the traffic orders are also hosted on the project page, as well as project page updates throughout the life cycle of the project. That's it from me. Thank you.
Thanks, Mikey. So I'll just quickly run us through the key next steps for the statutory consultation. So obviously statutory consultation is live now, and we're here having the webinar today, 18th. The first drop-in session will be held this Wednesday, 20th of November, at the Wheatsheaf Hall on Main Avenue. We will also be having the second drop-in session this Saturday, the 23rd, at the same location, Wheatsheaf Hall on Main Avenue. So those are 2 opportunities for you to come and speak to us face to face, and we can answer your questions. And then, yeah, as we've said throughout, the statutory consultation closes on the 8th of December. Following that, obviously, we'll be sifting through all the responses that we've got for this project, and we'll make a decision report which we'll publish in January. And then that decision report will outline how we're going to proceed with this project. And then if we do make the decision to proceed, the construction will start in February 2025. So looking at the wider route, just an update on that. So as mentioned earlier, we do have a section at feasibility, the Derby Road to Ponders End Station section. So we're anticipating that in December or January. That's being worked on currently. Also, we're going to look to commence the detailed design for the Bush Hill Park to Ermineside section of the route. Just again, keep things progressing, try and building up a route around the park. And we're awaiting the decision from TfL on the A10 junction design. That we've had some back and forth with them over this year, and we're hoping that they're going to get a decision to us fairly soon, so that we can then start to commence with the detailed design of the main avenue section on the western side of the A10, and then also looking at the eastern side, the Lincoln Road and Derby Road sections of the route. And then, of course, once we get to that point, we will go out again for statutory consultation on those sections as we get to those points, but we will keep you updated as and when that happens. So I think that is everything for these two sections, which brings us to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Stavros, I think you were going to facilitate this one.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone that have posted your questions in the Q&A section. There are a few questions that now will be distributed across the team. So the first one is regarding the targets that were set up by the council regarding cycling and the general targets within the within our transport strategy and policy. Jack, would you be happy to take this one?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Stavros. I think the question was alluding to sort of what we went through at the beginning in terms of setting out targets, and whoever asked questions is quite right. I didn't run through any of what those specific targets are. That's just because it's all linked to a very comprehensive sort of 30+ page document called the Enfield Transport Strategy that we consulted on earlier on the year and published relatively recently around really putting numbers to those targets. So we will put a link to that in the FAQ for the project following this to make sure everyone can see it easily. But I think in short, I think the thing to jump to is on page 12 of that, where we set out our vision, which is then put into a number of goals across the borough, which then really sets out those quantified targets across 5 or 6 targets that have numbers associated with them. And that enables our policy and planning colleagues in the team to scope routes and sort of pipeline them for delivery in order to achieve those targets. So we do link it all to an overall vision that is then derived into facts and figures before we start scoping routes.
Thank you, Jack. I can see that there are a lot of questions regarding the CPZ and the control parking zone, which is suggested for this area. Just to reiterate that there are not any designs or defined proposals yet. So we are still in the process of thinking about this intervention in our scheme. The council believes that a potential CPZ zone will help to alleviate any parking issues in the area. Of course, this is subject to more detailed proposals and subject to statutory consultation. So before implementing anything, we will come back to the public and we will ask for representations or objections, and then based on that, the decision will be made. Next one, there were a few questions about the existing layout of Beltway and the fact that it's a bit tight. So Daniel, could you please take this one and respond and give some more details about the layout of this area?
Yes, of course. So yeah, we're looking at a junction where we're not changing any curves or making any major changes to the layout. It's just introducing restrictions on the road, so basically installing new signs. So yeah, essentially we are not reducing the space on the road, and the movements that will be proposed or that they are proposed are the same as in the existing situation. So we're not making the existing situation any worse. but we acknowledge that there will be more, there will be more chances for two vehicles to turn at the same time. We've done a comprehensive vehicle tracking across the scheme, and yeah, this is all fine, and there are no issues. So yeah, rest assured, everything is gonna be fine.
Thank you, Daniel. Also, there are a few questions regarding the potential EV charging infrastructure and how the council is promoting these interventions, or how we are implementing this across the borough. Jack, would you be happy to take this one, please?
Yep, sure. So it's a very good point, because it's part of a set of complementary measures, I think, that we consider as part of the borough in terms of how we improve air quality, essentially. I think whilst it absolutely is a programme of the council, it doesn't sit within Journeys and Places, it sits within a highways team. So we will we'll publish a link to that relevant part of the council, so people can be best informed in it, because we're not the best people to tell you about it. But I think the key points here are that, one, we always look for opportunities to include things like EV parking and complementary measures as part of these schemes. But because of the way that many of our schemes are funded by grant funding from TfL, DFT and other areas, the focus of the funding is on delivery of walking and cycling routes. So those sort of complementary measures, they are a nice to have rather than something we have to incorporate. So that's probably why you don't see them as prevalently as possible. But the other key point here is that whilst absolutely that helps with air quality, electric cars don't help with congestion, and they don't help with road safety either. Sort of the road danger associated with the conflicts between vulnerable road users and cars are the same, irrespective of whether electric or motor powered, and they are still the same size on the road as well. So there's no benefits associated with reducing that congestion and essentially queuing and the ability for people to travel safely. So it's part of a set of measures. It is not one of the things that we principally concern ourselves with in walking and cycling proposals. Thanks, Stavros.
Thank you, Jack. Tom, could you please clarify a little bit about the bus gate, what a bus gate look like, and what it will achieve in the area?
Yep, sure thing. So a bus gate is effectively, it's just a point closure that other vehicles can't go through. So buses can go through it, cycles can go through it, and emergency service vehicles can go through it. Now, some are just like both directions, for instance. So you wouldn't be able to go through it either way. However, we're not proposing that. We're just proposing it as a one-way point closure. So if someone wanted to access Fotheringham Road, from Southbury Road, they would have to go along Southbury Road to Cecil Avenue and access that way. But if they then wanted to leave Fotheringham Road to get out onto Southbury Road, they would be able to do so via Fotheringham Road. They wouldn't be penalised for going through that point closure. Now, they are monitored with cameras, so it's ANPR, and yeah, again, it's the same thing for Cross Road as well. So it's a point closure at that point, but it is only one direction. So if you're coming from Cecil Avenue, you will have to go up Fotheringham Road. You won't be able to pass through that point closure, but you will be able to do it in the opposite direction. So the way it will look, the one on Fotheringham Road will just be signage at the top end, stating that only buses and cycles can pass through at that point. There won't be anything on the other side of those signposts because it's just free access. People will be able to go through it. But we are proposing some build outs on the Cross Road bus gate. This is an opportunity for us to do some greening, and it was also sort of a technical issue because there was some trees in the way, and we wanted to make sure that the signage was visible and just kind of draw people's attention to the fact that is going to be a point closure. So yeah, hopefully that's cleared up the bus gates. Also, just while I remember, there is an FAQ on the Let's Talk page, and there are some diagrams on there as to how they'll work as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Tom. I think one more is for you regarding the one-ways and what we are looking to achieve with these proposed interventions.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So if we cast our minds back a year to the original proposals, we had a one-way system on all these roads. The reason that we incorporated that is because we spoke with the local councillors, Councillor Jewell, Councillor Guzel and Councillor Askanoglu, and they said that they had a number of concerns about speeding and congestion on these roads. So they asked us if we could look into, putting in some measures on these roads as part of the scheme. Now, also, it's helped us, like as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, to protect the future cycle route that's going through here. So that's why we've retained these one-ways. But obviously, we've taken it away following last year's engagement, because we did hear some concerns about those one-ways, and we've reassessed the traffic data, and we've decided to go a sort of different route with this 20-mile-an-hour zone to address that speeding. Obviously, we've also got the controlled parking zone. Like I say, that's not part of the statutory consultation, but we could help address some of those issues with a controlled parking zone. But yeah, the reason we are keeping those one-ways is to protect that cycle route. The other stuff, the speed humps, the 20-mile-an-hour zones, is to sort of improve the general flow of traffic in these areas. But also, in including these one-ways, we do deter other people who would perhaps use this as a cut through from Southbury Road to the A10. It discourages those people from doing that. So we would hope one-ways would encourage people to go the appropriate route around via the A10 and alleviate some of the pressure on these roads that we're seeing.
Thank you very much, Tom. Daniel, if you can help out with a question regarding the build out and what this is.
Yes, so yeah, apologies. Earlier I referred to build out. So when I talk about build outs, I mean that the footway is constructed out towards the road. So effectively reducing the space on the road and the space to turn. But that's not the case in this area in Birdway. So yeah, that's what I was talking about. Hopefully that's clear.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel. I can see lots of questions regarding the suggested CPZ zone. As I said, we don't have yet defined the plans regarding the proposed routes or regarding the times, the suggested times. We are still exploring scenarios and options, and we'll be happy to take your feedback and take it away and think about it. Also, we'll be happy to discuss this in person in the next drop-in sessions that we are planning on Wednesday and Saturday, as Tom suggested. Regarding, so I think Tom, there is Tom or Daniel. There is one more question regarding Cecil Avenue and the potential increased traffic on that street, and if we have analyzed the situation and you have thought about it.
Can I pass that one to you, Daniel?
I'd like to pass it on to Alex if that's all right.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. No problem.
Right, well, apologies. I don't want to pass the buck, but I think Andy's the best place for that, having looked at the data. Sorry.
Yeah, apologies. So the impact on Cecil Avenue has been looked at, and it has also been taken into account the impact on the roads further to the west, including Percival, Bertram and Clive. So quite a lot of data has been looked at. Traffic data has been looked at to understand what the impact on those residential roads would be, and the likely reassignment to those roads. So that's why we've got the design as we've presented it today.
Excellent, thank you, Andy. I think there is one more for you regarding London Road, and if we thought about it in our options for the cycle path.
By London Road, we're talking about towards the Enfield Town Centre. I think, as Tom mentioned in his introduction, of the scheme, this is more of a phased approach. So the connection between this route on Southbury Road, from Southbury Road and Ponders End, the section along Southbury Road is still under development, and there are some options being considered linking to the Enfield Livable Neighbourhood Scheme. So it hasn't necessarily been ruled out, but it's something that may need some further investigation.
Thank you very much, Andy. Let me go through the questions. There are a few questions regarding the cost of the proposals for the scheme. As we always highlight in these engagements, so the funding for these schemes are coming directly from TfL. So all the schemes are self-funded, and the allocated fund is dedicated to active travel schemes. So as I mentioned, the Enfield to Ponders and the walking cycling route is part of the active travel proposals, and it will be funded by TfL. Let me see. There is one more question. If the design team can help with that regarding the accident records in the area. Is there something to mention here, and how we have incorporated and how we have considered these records in our proposals?
Yeah, I can have a crack at that one. I mean, I think what we're looking to do is obviously promote this as a cycle route through the area, and there are certain parameters we look at, and you know, it's volumes of traffic and traffic speeds that are suitable for sort of people of all ages cycling to be mixed with traffic. So accepted that potentially, you know, we're not seeing a high collision rate through here, but also we want to create an environment that's safe and within sort of recommended guidance thresholds for promoting a route that is safe for cyclists to mix with general traffic. And again, that's cyclists of all age that we're looking to do, particularly, you know, tying into the school to the southeast of the area as well.
Thank you, Alex. A few questions regarding Cecil Avenue and if we have considered any speed restrictions and any speed mitigation measures. I think, Tom, if you are happy to take this one.
Yep, of course. Thanks, Stavros. Yeah, so currently we don't have any speed reduction measures proposed on Cecil Avenue. However, you know, as mentioned previously, we are taking a phased approach to this. So we will be looking to monitor this as we go through. So, you know, we'll look at the impact that these proposals do have in reality, and then if we feel that we need to step in and propose some measures there, we can do that. But again, you know, that will depend on funding and that sort of thing. But yeah, at the moment there aren't any.
Thank you, Tom. Regarding Lincoln Road, there is a question if we have thought about this road to be the cycle path, the proposed cycle path, and what else? Sorry, I apologize for that. Give me a second. Yeah, so that's the question. Andy, if you can respond to that, is that okay?
Sorry, struggling to find unmute there. Yes, I mean, I think, again, as part of the phased approach, Lincoln Road is being considered for the next phases of the project. However, I think there are the surveys that we have for Lincoln Road suggest that the volumes are still relatively high and not suitable to mix general traffic with cyclists. So as part of the later phases, there may be some mitigation to be considered there. But this particular stage of the scheme that we're looking at We're just concerned with the residential roads from Southbury Road to the park at this stage.
Thank you very much, Andy. One question regarding the tight bend and also the Eaton Road. The left turn ban on Eaton Road, and how this will affect the neighborhood in general, and if we are proposing any W yellow lines in the area. Tom, would you be happy to take this one, please?
Yeah, so obviously we've got some changes to restrictions along the main part of the route. I've seen the question about Cecil Avenue and that tight corner. We haven't got any proposals on Cecil Avenue. However, if that's now brought to our attention, that's something that we can investigate and look to free up that area to make that turn a bit easier for people as off the back of these.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, one question regarding Clive Road and regarding the traffic levels in the area, and how this proposal, and if this proposal will increase the traffic on Clive Road. Alex or Andy, would you be happy to give some clarification on that, given the analysis that you did in the area?
Yes, so there will be an increase in traffic on Clive Road because we are restricting the traffic movements. But I feel the level of reassignment to those roads is not, based on our analysis, is not too significant. And given that we are also allowing traffic movements southbound as well on, I think it's Bertram Road as well. We are still permitting movements through that area, so it's going to be shared by those two roads rather than just the impact on a single road. Yeah, there we go. So there may be some increases on Clive Road there, but it wouldn't necessarily be at a significant level.
Thank you, Andy. Tom, one more question regarding the proposed bus gates on Fotheringham Road and how the proposals will affect the access to Downs Road.
Okay, just go back. So if someone is on Southbury Road and they wish to access Downs Road, which is down here, they would have to go via Cecil Avenue, along Cross Road, up Fotheringham Road, and then down either former Halstead or Burley Gardens to access that, because you would not be able to pass through that. Now, again, I appreciate that is a convoluted route. However, it's in the spirit of trying to discourage people from using these areas to cut through. So while it is more convoluted, the hope is that it will discourage that sort of cut through, and it will alleviate the pressure on these roads.
Right. Thank you, Tom. And I think this takes us to an end of our session. And thank you, everyone for your questions and the feedback that you posted already in the Q&A. I think that's really valuable for us all and for the project team. We will be welcoming you to the next drop-in sessions. One will take place on Wednesday, and the second one will take place on Saturday. So please come along and to discuss in more detail about the proposals and any other questions or feedback that you have and you wanted to share with us. But also in the meantime, as Tom mentioned, the survey is open on our Let's Talk page for you to provide feedback regarding the CBZ, and also to raise any concerns or to submit your objection or representation about the statutory consultation for the sections that Tom mentioned. Thank you, everyone.